One of the funny things about the future is that it eventually becomes the past, and we humans, thus far unable to harness the forces of time bending, can do nothing about it. The clock ticks, time marches on, and years that were once far in the future draw nearer and nearer, often demonstrating that reality doesn't always live up to our predictions. When looking at video game futures that have since become the past, it's clear that our favorite medium doesn't quite match the likes of The Simpsons when it comes to soothsaying accuracy. Still, for the most part, this is a good thing, because many video game futures are extraordinarily unpleasant, and we're really glad they didn't happen. Other times, though, these games offer glimpses of things we're actually quite sad that we didn't get. I mean, are we really not able to have baseball-playing robots yet? Or are billionaires just too busy blasting themselves off into space to sit down and do it? Priorities, everyone! Anyway, I predict that the next 12 to 15 minutes of your life will be spent in a state of joyful enthrallment at the fascinating and thought-provoking content we've prepared for you today. Let's hope that I'm far better at my predictions than these games were with theirs. I'm Ben from TripleJump, and here are 10 video game futures that are now in the past. Number 10. XCOM UFO Defense. One concept that frequently shows up in futuristic media is human contact with alien life, and 1994 strategy game XCOM UFO Defense, known as XCOM Enemy Unknown in Europe, predicted that this contact would happen in 1998. The story presents a gradual escalation of the unidentified flying object sightings that were popular at the time. A kidnapped redneck here, a mutilated cow there, and the next thing you know, Earth is fending off a full-scale alien invasion. Don't ignore the warning signs, people! The game puts you in charge of seeing off these space invaders as the leader of XCOM, a clandestine organization of operatives equipped to deal with the alien threat. You'll be responsible for overseeing XCOM's structure and funding in Geoscape mode and directly engaging in tactical combat in Battlescape mode. As you progress through the game, you'll unlock new weapons, reverse engineer alien technology, and maybe even capture a few of the little green men for questioning. Still, as cool and atmospheric as all this stuff is, we here in the actual future can safely and conclusively say that humans have so far made absolutely zero contact with aliens of any kind. There, that'll set a few of you off in the comments. Number 9. Seventh Dragon 2020. A turn-based RPG for Sony's PSP, and one of 2 games on this list that involves the year it was predicting right there in the title. Seventh Dragon 2020 envisions a future involving, you guessed it, dragons. These dragons do come from space though, so I suppose that makes them aliens too? The game is set in 2020 on an Earth that has been reduced to a post-apocalyptic state thanks to the invading dragons and a strange flower that they brought with them named Flowero. Good one. The botanist who named that must have been very tired that day. Flowero is bad news and has poisoned large parts of the planet and caused animals to mutate into deadly, aggressive abominations. You take control of Unit 13, a squad of individuals enlisted to fight back against dragons and dangerous foliage alike. Unit 13 consists, of course, of new recruits, as no JRPG would ever let us play as anyone older than a teenager. It's your job to guide them as they take on dragons and win Tokyo back from the Flowero. Now, as you're no doubt aware, a lot of very awful things happened in real-life 2020, but an infestation of deadly mutagenic flowers and a space dragon attack were not among them. Thank goodness for the small mercies, I suppose. Number 8. Command & Conquer. The grand, overarching story of the Command & Conquer Tiberian series starts in biblical times and continues far beyond into the actual future. As in, the future that really is still in the future. The first game in the series, however, was released in 1995, and it begins its story in the same year with the crashing of a meteor near the Tiber River in Italy before showing us the tumultuous years that followed this event. The meteor contained the element tiberium, which, in a similar vein to the flower from the previous entry, poisons the earth and mutates life that comes into contact with it. However, its crystals are also rich in precious metals and easily refined, making it incredibly valuable to the powerful nations of the world. This volatile combination triggered years of warfare. You, as a general of either the Global Defense Force or terrorist organization the Brotherhood of Nod, play out this warfare in top-down tactical strategy form, harvesting tiberium, building weapons, and then turning them on the enemy. This all leads up to the canonical ending of the Temple of Nod being destroyed by the orbital ion cannon in the early 2000s. I'm fairly sure that none of these things actually happened. I feel like I would have remembered seeing it on the news. You're all welcome to correct me though, I'm quite forgetful. Number 7. Hack. The first game on our list that doesn't feature anything coming from space, the .hack series instead predicted advances in computing technology, conspiracies, and a nasty virus called Pluto's Kiss that managed to brick nearly every computer in the world. This resulted in a whole 2 years without the internet and online gaming, making it the worst future we've seen yet. The story of .hack is set in 2010, where the protagonist is playing an MMORPG called The World. The World achieved global phenomenon status once the servers came back online, and all is not well as many players are slipping into mysterious comas while playing. Also, there is evidence to suggest that the game's creators have something sinister up their sleeves. The .hack series was praised for its dedication to its story and its commitment to presenting the world as a game within the game. As of yet, it seems that .hack's vision for the future hasn't come to pass though, with real-world developers using MMOs to make money rather than rendering its players comatose. Although, something like that did happen to a friend of mine while playing World of Warcraft once, but I'm fairly sure that was a food coma. Too many what's-its, you know how it goes. Number 6. Super Baseball 2020. Our second game to include the year in its title, Super Baseball 2020, is also set in 2020. However, while 7th Dragon 2020 gave us invading space dragons, Super Baseball 2020 gives us the far more reasonable concept of robot baseball. Sports. I'd prefer to live through a future that involves tin sportsmen rather than outer space dragon invasions, but with my luck I think we know which one is more likely. Originally released for home consoles on the Neo Geo in 1991, Super Baseball 2020 looked 29 years into the future and predicted that the sport of baseball would be enhanced by robotic competitors, leap-boosting jump zones, and apparently teleportation. These all seem like completely reasonable additions to the sport, right? Now, I'm no baseball expert, but as far as I'm aware, the game is pretty much the same today as it was in 1991. It's certainly not played in a huge neon monstrosity known as the Cyber Egg Stadium, with rock music constantly blaring. Maybe something to work on, baseball governing bodies. You can also probably leave the anti-personnel mines out of real baseball too. We could do without those. Number 5. Trauma Center Under the Knife. Nintendo DS Surgery 'em Up Trauma Center Under the Knife presents a vision of the year 2018 in which medical breakthroughs have rendered major diseases such as cancer and AIDS easily curable. It's a set of circumstances that we all wish had been reality, but even so, not everything is rosy in the world of Trauma Center. A man-made parasitic disease known as guilt, all caps, has showed up to challenge medical professionals the world over. Taking on the role of young Dr. Derek Stiles, players must use the touchscreen to operate various medical tools and perform surgeries on guilt-stricken patients. In addition, there's the slight complication of finding out where this artificial disease has come from and working out how to stop it. In case you were wondering, guilt stands for gangliated eutrophin immunolatency toxin, which sounds quite unpleasant to me. Whether this is actually a plausible condition or the developers of Trauma Center just made up some vaguely medical-sounding babble, I don't know. Either way, I definitely wouldn't want to catch it, and I certainly don't want anyone cutting me open with a DS stylus, thank you. Number 4. Uplink. Back in 2001, the internet as we know it was only around 5 or 6 years old, and the fascinating idea of the elite hacker was almost romanticized. Such characters were often depicted as shadowy techno-sorcerers with the ability to bring the world to a grinding halt with a few taps on a keyboard. This is, of course, a very Hollywood idea, and 2001's hacking simulator Uplink leaned into this heavily, presenting Hollywood hacking at its finest. The game is set in 2010, and you are a freelance hacker who is potentially swept up in a battle for the internet between anti-capitalist techno-anarchist group Andromeda and corporate giant Aaronmore. I say potentially because while it's very likely that you'll end up choosing a side and hacking and counter-hacking for world domination, you can also just sit back and rake in some hacker bucks by taking on freelance jobs. To be fair, the way the game casts you, the real you, at your keyboard as the techno-wizard protagonist is quite cool, and the whole thing is a lot of fun. Uplink is still available to download right now, so why not test out your tech skills and give it a go? Just remember to dim the lights, pull your hood securely over your head, and turn all your glowy computer bits to their full glowiness settings. Maximize that immersion. Number 3. Battle Tanks. 1998 Nintendo 64 action game Battle Tanks is set in the then near future of 2001, and it presents the decidedly unpleasant scenario of a deadly virus having killed off most of the women in the world. The resulting sausage fest, of course, resulted in a devastating war that left the world in a post-apocalyptic state. Also, everyone is driving around in tanks for some reason. In the game, you take control of one of the aforementioned tank-having fellows, Griffin Spade. He takes a journey across the ruins of America to find his fiancée Madison, one of the few women left in the world. Also, women are now referred to as Queen Lords, which, well, doesn't make too much sense, but okay. The least likely aspect of battle tanks' predicted future is the sudden ability of everyone to find and pilot a fully functioning tank. If I had to choose one part of the game's vision to come true, though, I think it would have to be the whole women referred to as Queen Lords thing. Honestly, it's a catchy name. It grows on me the more I think about it. Number 2. Smash TV. Smash TV was released in the arcades in 1990, quickly followed by releases on various home consoles under the slightly altered moniker of Super Smash TV. It envisioned a dystopian 1999 and a brutal game show that has a frankly ridiculous body count. Seriously, this couldn't have gone on for more than a few series. You're definitely going to run out of generic goons at this rate. The object of this fast-paced multiplayer twin-stick shooter is to clear arenas of enemies before moving on to the next one, all while earning magnificent prizes and working the live studio audience into a braying frenzy. Make it to the final arena and defeat the mega-rich psycho responsible for the whole thing to earn your life, your freedom, and riches beyond compare. Brutal futuristic game shows have been a popular trope over the years, but luckily the closest we've come in real life is the Richard Hammond-presented ball-bouncing extravaganza Total Wipeout. Although, to be fair, I'd be just as likely to be killed in the Total Wipeout as I would Smash TV, knocked out cold by a giant ball and drowning in a few feet of water. What a way to go. Number 1. Zak McKracken and the Alien Mindbenders. While not as well known as Maniac Mansion, Zak McKracken and the Alien Mindbenders is another Lucasfilm Games product that makes use of the same engine and features visuals and zany humor that fans of its more popular predecessor will find familiar. Released in 1988 and set in 1997, the game deals with the concept of an alien invasion but approaches it somewhat differently to what you might be expecting. The aliens in Zak McKracken and the Alien Mindbender are attempting to take over the Earth using some very underhanded and clandestine means. Rather than an all-out UFO attack with laser beams and plasma blasters, the evil space creatures have infiltrated an international corporation known as the Phone Company. They're using its communication systems to emit a mind-bending ray that slowly reduces the intelligence of all humans on Earth. Ooh, satire. Luckily, there is an alien artifact that has the ability to repel these invaders. Unluckily, it has been split up into many pieces and spread out across Earth and Mars. It falls to the player, stepping into the shoes of tabloid journalist Zak McKracken, to embark on a puzzle-filled adventure to retrieve the artifact pieces and save the human race from becoming utterly and irredeemably stupid. Now that is a future that I really wish had come true.